Hello everyone! You've heard of Blue Peter, but welcome today to Green Sam. This episode is extra special as it's about an animal that's very close to our hearts here in Bristol. They're big, they're hairy, and no, it's not your Uncle Dave. We're talking about gorillas.
That's right, gorillas have been a much-loved part of Bristol Zoo for over 100 years. But some of you might know the zoo closed its Clifton site a few years ago, and a brand new wildlife park, the Bristol Zoo Project, opened just outside the city.
But for the past 3 years, the gorillas have been left all alone in their old zoo, waiting patiently for their new forever home. And guess what? This summer, they're finally moving into their new enclosure, and this one's 5 times larger than their old one.
Today we're going to explore the fascinating story of Bristol's gorillas, both old and new. We'll also find out if Sam can lift as much as a gorilla, test the public to see if they think they could take on one, and we'll meet Alan Toyne, a man who once hand-raised 2 baby gorillas to learn about the challenges they face in the wild.
But before we get into all of that, let's test your gorilla knowledge. What is the scientific name of the Western lowland gorilla? A. Panpongo pygmaeus, B. Valdemangus simia, or C. Gorilla, gorilla, gorilla. Scan the QR code on your screen to lock in your answer and we'll reveal the correct one and how many of you got it right later on in the show. No cheating.
Right now, let's head over to Erin, who's at the old Bristol Zoo Gardens, where the gorillas are getting ready for their next move. Take it away, Erin.
Thanks guys, it's Erin here and I am at the old Bristol Zoo Gardens, and right behind me is where a very special group of Western lowland gorillas still lives. The leader of the group is Jock, and Jock isn't just any gorilla. At 41 years old, he is the oldest male gorilla in the UK. In the wild, the silverbacks are the protectors of the group, looking after the youngsters and the females, making sure that the whole family is safe and sound. Now let's meet the rest of the gang. First up, we've got Toonie. Toonie is the dominant female. She is curious, confident, and a little bit of an action hero. Not only is she really good at climbing trees, she's also a top-tier tool user. She will use branches to reach tasty treats that are just out of reach. Clever girl. Then we have Carla. Carla is a little bit shyer than Toonie, a little bit more reserved. But don't let that fool you, she's still very important to Jock. In fact, she's actually his favorite. Then we have Kira. Kira is the oldest female of the group, and she hasn't always had an easy time in life. But now that she's moved in with the group and she seems to have found her place, she's a lot happier. And then of course, no family is complete without a group of little ones causing chaos. So let's meet the youngsters. Ayana, Junie, Hassani, and Afia. They are all curious, playful, and full of energy. But big changes are ahead for the family, because this summer they will all be moving to a new home, a specially designed Central African forest habitat, which has got way more space for them, and it's much similar to the sort of wild setting that they would be used to living in. It's a very big change for them, and it's a brilliant one.
Thanks, Erin. That was amazing. But hang on. If all the animals have moved to Bristol Zoo Project, why are the gorillas still there?
Well, as you can imagine, these big guys aren't exactly easy to pack up and pop in a van. Gorillas need loads of space and enrichment and really carefully designed homes, so building their new forest enclosure has taken a little bit of time.
Oh, yes. Well, also, this enclosure is like 5 times bigger than their old one, and the team have been working really hard to make it perfect for when they do move in.
Yeah, and they're going to feel right at home the moment they arrive.
Yeah.
And the good news is that the wait is nearly over. This summer, the gorillas will finally be making their big move back to their brand new forest haven. And they won't be all alone. They'll be joined by some exciting new neighbours, including endangered African grey parrots, critically endangered slender-snouted crocodiles, and some cheeky cherry-crowned mangabees. What a mouthful.
So it's out with the old and in with the new, I suppose?
Well, yes, when it comes to giving animals the best care possible. But the old zoo and its amazing residents will never ever be forgotten, especially one particularly handsome fellow.
So before this lovely family of gorillas even lived at Bristol Zoo, Alfred the gorilla reigned supreme in the 1930s and 40s. Alfred was one amazing ape. He liked throwing snowballs. Ow! He disliked aeroplanes. Ow! And he hated men with beards. Sorry, Sam.
That's alright, Romany. Now, Alfred was stuffed. No, literally, he was stuffed. Following his death in 1948, after living 18 years at Bristol Zoo, he was stuffed and preserved in Bristol Museum and Art Gallery, safely stored behind a glass cabinet. Until stuffed Alfred was stolen from the museum. Luckily, a few days later, Alfred was found all in one piece at a local GP.
Why was he at the GP's? Did he have a stuffed nose?
Actually, he was stolen by some local students.
Thankfully, museum security is much better these days.
Well, at least they left him looking pretty stylish. Back to you in the studio. Wow, Alfred was one seriously dapper gorilla in his hat. What a shame he wouldn't have been too keen on me. But I've got to say, I'm a big fan of his. I mean, just look at that style. I'm not sure I could have pulled it off, but I think I might have the next best thing. Everybody, grab some pens and paper, because we're heading over to the Arts and Crafts studio, where Erin is about to show us how to make the one and only Alfred.
Thanks, Sam. So, I'm going to be showing you how to make your own Alfred, and just as a demonstration, we've got one that I made earlier. So the first thing you're going to do is take your little square of paper and fold it along the diagonals. So you need to do both diagonals. There's one, and there is the other. So next you're going to take a corner and fold it into the middle, where the two fold lines intersect, and then take the little corner and fold it back up again. Once you've done that, kind of flip it over, take the sides and fold them almost into the middle, but not quite all the way. Got a little gap there. Then you take them back out, and you're going to go with this corner here to just about where the fold line is there, and fold that in, and then go with the same on the other side. Now we're going to take the folds that you did earlier and bring them back. So you should be in this position. And then you take the bottom corner, and that comes up almost to the middle, not quite, a little bit of a gap. And then take a tiny bit of this down here. And at this point, you can take the whole thing and fold it apart. We're getting there now, guys, stay with me. So you want to create a crease along there and open it back out. And this is where you get to fold out here, opening this way, so you can see his little face. And then the last thing you've got to do is round out his cheeks. You can draw a little face on him. And with that, you have got yourself an Alfred. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, okay, well done, Erin. Cheers for that. Brilliant origami Alfred. Looks just like the real thing. Now, whilst Alfred had a human stylist for his outfit, wild gorillas have their own sort of style. Adult females and young gorillas have been seen to sport the very fashionable stick hat and the ever more fashionable straw scarf. And my personal favourite, they love a little bedding veil. But you don't really see the big silverbacks dressing up in this sort of style. I wonder if they just don't have any of the outfits in their size. Well, that wouldn't be surprising, since adult silverback gorillas can weigh up to 180 kilograms. That's about the same size as 3 people. And it's not just size. These big boys are exceptionally strong. A fully grown silverback gorilla can lift 1,800 kilograms. But I reckon I can lift that, right? Easy peasy. Well, less time to see if I've got what it takes to outlift a gorilla. I'm going to attempt to lift as much as a Western lowland gorilla. Come on! Okay, I think you got me. These weights aren't really 2,000 kilograms. In fact, they're only 10 kilograms. In actuality, the world record bench press for a human is only 500 kilograms, less than a third of what a gorilla can lift. If I was to lift what a gorilla could lift, there'd be 2 cars on either side of these barbells. So I think I've got a bit of catching up to do before I can outlift the gorilla. But I'll get there one day. I'm not going to give up yet. But I might still have a bit of training to do. Back to you in the studio.
Nice try, Sam. Nice try, Sam. You're getting there. Maybe a few more bananas and a lot more push-ups.
Yeah, I mean, I never knew gorillas were so strong. I think that makes my decision for me. I won't be wrestling any gorillas anytime soon.
Probably a smart choice. Even though gorillas look tough, they're actually pretty shy and gentle unless you mess with them or their family. And if that happens, let's just say not even 100 Sams would stand a chance.
Well, I don't know. I reckon 100 people could take on a gorilla.
What? No way. They're way too strong. 100 people wouldn't be able to.
Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. We sent Caroline onto the streets of Bristol to settle this once and for all. Who would win in a fight? 100 humans or 1 gorilla? Over to you, Caroline.
Hello, Caroline here. Unusually, I've been thinking, humans think they're pretty tough. So I'm out and about in Bristol today, speaking with the public.
Oh wow. Hello.
We'll talk about the 100 people versus 1 gorilla trend to see if people think they're as strong as they actually think they are. I wonder what they'll have to say. We're going to find out once and for all if it would be 1 gorilla or 100 people who would win in a fight. Let's go.
I mean, who do you think would win? 100 people or 1 gorilla?
I think 1 gorilla.
1 gorilla, yeah, okay then.
I think people are nasty and cruel. I think that a gorilla would be very kind-hearted and 100 people would totally smash 1 gorilla.
That's true, that is true. And what's your reasoning?
I think gorilla is, wild gorilla is really powerful.
So that's 1 added to 100 people and 1 added to 1 gorilla.
I think it would be a tie at the end of the day.
I know, we'll see if it'll be a tie. Do you think that 100 people or 1 gorilla would win in a fight?
1 gorilla.
1 gorilla.
1 gorilla?
They're big and strong. I don't think people would stand a chance.
People can be a bit stupid, can't they? So I feel like the gorilla would outsmart them.
Yeah, that's very agreeable. Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks.
Right, so that was 2 for 100 people.
No, 2 for a gorilla. They said the gorilla. 2 for the gorilla.
I think definitely 100 people. Right? Because, okay, it's one gorilla and it's like 100 people. Obviously, like, one gorilla versus one guy is like out of the question.
How best do you think they could, wrangle him?
For sure, it will be a pile, like after
Yeah.
like a few brave guys, yeah. I think like around like 80 something people would die probably, yeah.
So there'd be 20 survivors.
20 survivors probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one more for 100 people. They're catching up. Yeah, that's right. Walk away. Yeah. Don't want to mess with me. Hey guys, I just wanted to ask you, do you reckon that 100 people could win in a fight against one gorilla?
No. A gorilla would definitely win, surely.
I think that's nonsense. I think there is no way a gorilla could fight 100 people. I think you're underestimating the scale. Like 100 people is quite a lot. Like they could pin him down.
I think people would be terrified of the gorilla. Imagine the rage.
But, like, how would you coordinate your attack? I'd like set like 5 people per like limb of the gorilla, and then you just like again pin him down. I don't know what you'd then do, to be honest. I wouldn't.
No,
really
that's
want to kill a
that's very tactful.
gorilla. Yeah.
Nah, I still think a gorilla would win. I don't know. I'm standing my ground. I think a gorilla would win. Yeah, 100%.
So that's a point added to each one, and the gorilla remains in the lead. So, as you can see, it is pretty close, but the gorillas have in fact won. But we ought to be changing our mindset from fighting gorillas to saving them, which I'm going to expand more on back in the studio. Thanks, guys.
Well, the people of Bristol have spoken. One gorilla would beat 100 people.
But what if the fight was rigged? Unfortunately, we already know who wins here. Gorillas might be a lot stronger than Sam, but these mighty creatures are not invincible. In fact, the Western Lowland gorilla is listed as critically endangered, which means sadly they are at a very high risk of becoming extinct in the wild, and all because of very one scary species, humans.
Unfortunately, that's right. Humans hunt gorillas for meat and cut down the forest they live in for wood and clear space for farms. If we don't start protecting these peaceful animals, they could all be gone.
Maybe it's time to stop asking ourselves what it would take to defeat a gorilla and start asking ourselves what it would take to save one.
And to better understand this, I met with Alan Toyne, a gorilla expert and author of the book Gorillas in Our Midst, who worked with Western Lowland gorillas at Bristol Zoo for 14 years and even raised 2 baby gorillas himself.
Welcome, Alan.
Thanks, Sabrina. Nice to meet you.
So I was wondering, you've raised 2 baby gorillas. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience and why you did that?
Sure, yeah. So the first one was born at Bristol Zoo through emergency C-section. So obviously the mother was very, very ill, which meant we had to take that baby home with us after work in a little car seat, and then care for it throughout the night, bottle feeding every 2 hours. And part of that process was to train that baby gorilla how to be a normal gorilla. So when it came to the point of putting it back in with the gorilla group again, the baby knew what it was doing and knew how to behave.
So lovely. That is so lovely. So you've been working with gorillas for 14 years?
Yeah.
What's your most funny and interesting gorilla story that you'd like to tell our viewers?
Wow, so that's there's so many stories I could launch into. I'll tell you one about when I very first started working at the zoo. One of the older gorillas, a gorilla called Salome, who was like a proper battle-scarred, half an ear, barely any teeth left, sort of ancient female gorilla, who was also very clever. The zoo were trying to get the gorillas to paint pictures to sell in the gift shop. There was a craze for it in zoos back when I first started. Some elephants painted something and so, do you think the gorillas will do it? So we tried to train Salome how to paint a picture. We were doing it on one side of the door and she was doing it on the other. And we set it up, we got it ready to go. Salome came in, picked up the first pot of paint and drank it straight away. Like she was drinking a shot of tequila, drank all the paint, ate the paper, and then ate the paintbrush. I was going to call it a toothbrush, paintbrush, all in one go. So there was no picture produced. Her poo was blue for about a week afterwards.
Oh no. Well, that is quite a funny story. They are amazing creatures, but they are also under threat and we need to help them. And can you tell us a little bit about what conservation measures we should be looking at to protect these species?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably one of the things that we living in the Western world can have the most positive impact on is making sure you, one, recycle your mobile phones, any device you have with coltan in it, which is a mineral that goes into the microchips that go into our mobile phones, but all that sort of technology. If we make sure we're recycling our old ones, that really takes the pressures off mining in the gorilla's natural habitat. And also you can make sure that you get a phone with sustainable coltan as part of that mobile phone deal. So those are two things that is very easy for us to do. Raising awareness, looking out for the FSC logo on all our wooden or paper products. So you know that those things are coming from a sustainable source. So that logo is quite easy to recognise, FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council, and it's got like a little tree kind of logo in it. So make sure all those products you're buying have got that going on. That saves forest habitats around the world, not just gorilla habitat, obviously, but as a general measure of sustaining forests, that's super important. And just being generally aware of all the problems that gorillas do face. All human interactions, really. So poaching, of course, the bushmeat trade is a real issue. So not that I'm suggesting any of us would probably eat gorilla meat in a restaurant, but there have been reports of gorilla meat being found in Belgium, I think, relatively recently. So it's an illegal trade, but it still happens, unfortunately. So those are the main ones to look out for.
Amazing, thank you so much for that. And how are zoos protecting these species?
So there's 4 subspecies of gorilla: the mountain gorilla, the eastern lowland gorilla, the cross river gorilla, and the western lowland gorilla. And the western lowland gorilla is the one you see in zoos everywhere. So zoos concentrate on that one particular subspecies. And zoos don't own the animals they keep. Zoos share all those animals. So the idea is that you move animals from one zoo to another at a point in the animal's life where naturally it would be thinking about leaving its family group and going off to breed. So zoos manage that captive population in that way, and they need to keep the gene pool as diverse as they possibly can. So it's very much like the wild. So there's never any inbreeding or anything like that. So they're managing a captive population of that species, which is classed as critically endangered. So it's run by a European breeding program all across Europe. So that's kind of how zoos maintain that captive population.
Thank you so much. You've really told us some interesting stories, and you've also made us really aware of some important truths that we need to talk about when we talk about gorillas. So thank you so much for coming, Alan, and I really hope it goes well with your book.
Amazing, thanks so much. Yeah, really, thanks for having me, and always a pleasure.
Back to you in the studio.
Wow, Alan sure knows his stuff. Imagine raising 2 baby gorillas. That must have been so cute. Now, the answer even to the question you've all been waiting for: what is the scientific name for a western lowland gorilla? Well, drum roll freeze. It is gorilla, gorilla, gorilla. Wow, 78% of you got that right. I can't believe it. I think you might have cheated. I don't know, call me sceptical. But I definitely thought it was the first one.
Pan Pongo Pygmaeus.
And what does that mean?
It sounds legitimate because it's actually a combination of the Latin names for chimpanzees and orangutans. And the second one was completely made up. It's just the Latin for very big monkey.
It was a bluff.
So,
What else have we learned today? Well, we've learned that gorillas are very beautiful creatures, but unfortunately they're threatened by humans at the moment.
Yeah, we also learned that Sam can't lift as much as a gorilla, which is nearly 2,000 kgs. That's crazy. He'd have to do a lot of working out, and even then, I think, what did he say? I think the world's strongest man or something could only lift 500 kgs. Yeah. We also, so if you want to get involved in helping the gorillas out, you can learn how to be a fundraiser or donate money at the Bristol Zoo website, the Bristol Zoo Project website.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different ways you can fundraise. You can do bake sales or marathons or quiz nights. So many different options.
And just £25 can help get bedding and like the wooden bedding for the gorillas so they can feel right at home and provide enrichment for them as well.
Exactly, yeah. So just head over to the website on screen and get a little bit of fundraising going on.
And for the more adventurous among you, they've even got a skydiving fundraiser organised. So head on to their website, www.bristolzoo.org.uk, to get involved in that.
Okay. Well, that's it from us. I hope you all love gorillas as much as we do now.
Yeah, and tune in next time. But first, who are we going to next?
Unearthed.
Unearthed. Stay tuned for Unearthed. They're the next the next channel on is Unearthed. I wonder what they're going to be talking about. Must be about making the world a better place. Bye.